Hello, Rio Grande third graders. And we are off to a great start. It's a Monday, and we are going to look at our DMA solutions for week 4, day 1. Can you believe it's already the 4th week of school? It just seems like it's just flying by. But let's go ahead and get started. So let's look at our word problem. This is a 2-step word problem. So that means we're going to have to use these numbers to solve using 2 steps. That could be adding and subtracting or multiplying and dividing. It just depends on what we're going to be doing with the numbers. So if we look at this problem, it says Delaney's favorite book is Trees in the Breeze. The book has 85 pages of text and 145 pages of pictures. If Delaney is on page 97, how many pages are left to read? So if we go back and use our strategy of KFA, which is K, what do we know? So we know that in this book there are 85 pages of text and 145 pages of pictures. So it's not giving us all the pages together. We have to figure out how many pages are in this book. Now then it says if Delaney is on page 197, which we assume he's not finished or she's not finished, it asks how many pages are left to read. So another piece of information that we're going to need to know is the page that Delaney is on. This person is on page 197. Now, our question is asking us, what do we need to find? And what we need to find is how many pages are left to read. So we want to take our question and we want to write it in an answer statement. So I'm just going to use a sheet of paper here, but you can always use your back of your page because that's what this is for. This is for you to write out your solutions and write out or solve using the back when you're doing word problems. So let's go ahead and talk about the information that we have. So we know that Delaney has a book, and I'm just going to use a bar diagram to kind of help make this into a visual. So 85 of these pages in this book are going to be text. So we're going to label this because this is going to give us some information on when we need to look back and think about this. It's going to help us with our thinking. The other part of our book, or the rest of our book, is going to be pages that are pictures. So we want to know, if we want to know what page or how many pages he has left, we're going to need to know how many pages this book is. So in order to do that, we need to find our total pages. So this is going to be our total pages in the book. So to do that, to find our total pages, we need to, if you guessed add, you'd be correct. We need to add our pages together to get the total pages. So we're going to take our 85 and our 145 and we're going to add them. So I can already see that 5 and 5 is going to be 10. I have 40 and 80. So 2 10s from 40 would make 100. And then 2 more 10s, 120. So I'm just breaking this up in my head to make an even 100, and then I have 120. And then of course I have this 100 right here. So when I put this back together, I can see I have 100, plus 100 is 200, plus 20 is 220, plus 10 is 230. So this book has 230 pages. Now, if I go ahead and use what I know about my total pages, then I can say, okay, well, I have 230 pages in this book, and Delaney is at 197. So if I think about what I need to do, I have a total here, and I have a part of my book, but I want to know what the other part is. So in order for me to figure out the missing part, I would need to subtract this 230 minus 197. Now, one way to think about this is if I were to subtract 200, I could easily subtract 200 right here from this 230, which means I would be over subtracting by 3, which means I would have to add that 3 back on, which would make 33. But if I want to go ahead and use my place value, I can subtract my 200 minus 100 is 100. And this 30 and this 90 is going to tell me that I need to borrow 100 and I need to subtract. So if I wanted to know how many it takes to get from 90 to 130, I could add 10 to make 100 and then 30 to make the 130, which is my difference between 90 to 130. So that means this is 40. And then I don't have any ones, but then I would subtract. That means I need to borrow. And then I have 10, and 10 minus 7 is 3. So this tells me I have 33 pages left, which is the same thing that we had if we were just to subtract 200 and then add the 3 more back in that we over subtracted. So that means that he has, or she has, 33 pages left to go in the book. Now, another way to think about this is think about 197. That's where she is or he is in the book. And we need to get to 230. So this is basically this part right here that's left. So if I were to add 10 to 197, that would be 207. If I add another 10, that would be 217. If I add another 10, I would be at 227. And then if I add 3 more, that would put me at 230. So 10, 20, 30, 33 pages left. So just a couple of different ways to kind of think about it. But now that I have my pages left, I can go to my answer statement, and Delaney has 33 pages left to read because if you add the part that are text and pictures, you get 230 pages. Then subtract the 197 pages, or 197 pages that she's read, from 230, leaving 33 pages, and I'm just abbreviating pages, left. So, two-step word problem. We had to find the total number of pages here, and then we had to subtract the pages that she's or he's read to find out how many pages were left for him or her to read. So now let's take a look at our addition sentence for the second part. And we have 15 and 15. So 10 and 10 is 20. And 5 and 5 is going to give me 10. So I know that if I add 20 and 10 more, that will make 30. I want to kind of skip down to where we're talking about the polygons or the shapes. It says color all of the pentagons. So I think we had a similar problem like this a while back, and we talked about what a pentagon was. And I think we said that penta, if you look in your planner and use that page in your planner, penta means 5, or maybe it was hexa. I think we were talking about hexagons. So if we have penta, penta means 5, and gon means sides. So if we look for our 5-sided figures, we will notice that we have a rectangle here, and that rectangle is a 4-sided figure. We have a triangle here, which is a 3-sided figure with 3 vertices. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners or vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners. So in this case, we're looking for a 5-sided figure, and if it has 5 sides, it also has 5 vertices. So we have a pentagon here, so we could shade this one in. And we have a pentagon here. Now, the difference between this pentagon from the one that's probably in your planner for your resource is this is a regular pentagon, which means all the sides are the same length. Whereas in this case, we have a pentagon, but none of the sides are the same length. So this is called a regular pentagon, where all the sides are the same, and this is called an irregular pentagon. But as long as we know what a pentagon is, that's probably the important part. 5-sided figure, okay? Now I want to talk about the fraction. So when we're talking about fractions, fractions are parts of a whole. And when we are counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we've been counting whole numbers since we were in maybe preschool or kindergarten. But now, as we get older, we start to learn that in between each group of whole numbers, we have fractions or parts of a whole number. So if I think about this in the idea of a number line, I have one whole circle, which tells me that this one whole is one whole here. This is my one whole. This is one. This is one circle. However, what has happened here is we have partitioned this circle into 4 equal pieces. Knowing that, we need to understand that however many pieces there are, this denominator tells us how many parts are in the whole. The whole number. So in this case, we have a whole number of 1. Our numerator tells us how many of those parts we're counting. And in this case, we want to count the shaded parts. So in this case, we have 1/4 of this circle, one of the 4 parts, and each one of these is considered a 1/4 part of that circle. Understand that this is one of the 4 parts. We can say that the fraction is 1/4. So on a number line, when we're talking about 1/4, we're thinking of this circle as being this one whole number on our number line. And we partition it into 4 equal pieces. So if we were to show where this fraction 1/4 is on a number line, we are saying that this is 1 from here to here. This is one of the 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1/4 is going to be right here in between 0 and 1 of our whole number. So I hope that kind of starts us thinking a little bit more in depth about fractions. We're going to continue working with unit fractions, which is one part of a whole. And we'll continue doing this. We'll probably have some lessons that go towards the end of the quarter. But for right now, we're just doing some basic fraction work to get us started. So, hope you have a great Monday and the rest of your afternoon. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you tomorrow.